Hey, welcome to Table for One. You know, when I was growing up, I wanted to be on ESPN. I loved SportsCenter, I loved sports. I wanted to be a sports journalist. And kind of some part of me thought, you know what, that's probably not even going to be a reality. So I started thinking about other career choices and other career moves. And I wanted to be a lawyer. And so I started taking like these advanced kind of law classes in high school and kind of getting prepped for college. Thinking that is the track that I was going to go in. And it wasn't until in my senior year where God got a hold of my life and really called me to go into full-time ministry. And it was during those times where I was really wrestling with, God, what is your will for my life? What is your plan for my life? I've heard this over and over and over again from parents and leaders and pastors that God has a plan for my life. I just kind of want to know what that is. Maybe you've heard that as well. Maybe you've heard, hey, God has a plan for your life. And you're kind of wrestling with that. Maybe you've made some career choices. You know what you want to do. You have some likes. You have some passions and you've kind of moved in that direction. But maybe there's something that still feels like there must be more. Well, the Apostle Paul, wrote a letter to the church in Ephesus, and he really outlines what God's plan is for each one of our lives, what his dream is for each one of our lives. I believe that God has a plan for your life. And this is what Paul says to the church in Ephesians. He's actually praying for them. He says, I pray for you and I thank God for you, but this is what I pray for you. I pray that I ask God that he will make you intelligent and discerning so that in knowing him personally, that you would actually know who God is, that he would give you insight and wisdom. Isn't that so great? Don't all of us want wisdom and a little bit more insight into knowing who God is personally? And Paul continues, he says that our eyes would be focused and clear. The eyes of our heart would be so focused and clear so that you can see exactly what it is that he is calling you to do. That's so awesome. That we would be full of wisdom, that we would be full of insight, that we would get to know him personally, that the eyes of our heart, the discernment of our lives would be so focused, would be so clear, so that we would be able to know without a shadow of a doubt, with all certainty, what God is calling each one of us to do. Paul continues, he says that he prays and he asks that we would grasp the immensity of the glorious way of life that God has for his followers. That is so great. A lot of times we walk through life just thinking, I believe this certain way, and we might have a little bit of doubt, but more doubt, we are kind of defined in our beliefs, but very few of us, and very rarely do we actually step out and be like, you know what? The way of life that I'm living as a follower of Jesus is glorious. It is the best life I could ever have imagined. I wouldn't rather do anything else with my life than follow Jesus. And that was Paul was saying, is that he just asked that we would be able to grasp the immensity of the glorious way of life that God has for his followers. And then there's one other thing that he asked God for. He asked God that we would utter the extravagance of his work in those who follow him. Like being a voice of encouragement, of honor, of praise, of just uplifting those who follow Jesus, who actually are living this glorious life that God has for his followers. So God does have a plan for your life. God has a dream for your life. But and the dream is that you would know him personally, that you would have wisdom and that you would have insight and to know him personally. That your heart would be so open and your eyes of your heart would be so focused and clear that you would know exactly what God is calling you to do. That you would grasp the immensity of the glorious way of life that God has for you, and that you would utter the extravagance of those who know him, that follow him, of the work that God is doing in their lives. All around the world. How great would our life be? How great would your life be if you lived that dream that God has for you today? So for the next few moments, wherever you are today, just reflect on that dream, that God's plan for your life, and just see what he would have you do. Just ask him what he would reveal to you in that. And then just again, re-up and say, God, I want to follow you wherever that may lead. Because I know that if I do, there's a glorious life. There's a glorious, immensely glorious life that you have for me. So I pray for you today that God would enrich you with all wisdom and insight and into knowing Him personally.